Hi, today I'd like to talk to you about one of my newest tools called the Square Squared. This tool is designed to help me create units that look like this. A square set on point inside of another square. Now you're thinking, no, that doesn't look so hard, but what happens is when you set this up like this, what you want in your projects most of the time is you want the diagonal measurement from here to here on the square to be a specific size. In this case, 5 inches. That's pretty easy. But what happens is, in order to get the diagonal measurement to be 5 inches, what you need to do when you cut that square is cut that square to a very unusual measurement. It happens to be 3.536 inches. It's not a number that we want to have to deal with. So I've created a tool that's going to allow me to do a couple of things. First of all, the tool is going to allow me to precision cut the square for the center of my square squared. When I would put this on a piece of fabric, what I would do is simply line up this line here. This says this is the center square for a 5-inch block. This is the proper size square that you will cut so that when it's sewn, the diagonal measurement is going to be 5 inches. Now once you've cut the squares for the center, you'll want to find the chart that's located on the ruler. This chart shows you the finished size of the unit you are making and the recommended size of the squares to cut for the half square triangle pieces. Once you've cut the squares, you'll need to cut them in half on one diagonal to make triangles that are slightly oversized. These are the triangles that we are going to sew to the edges of the square and create our square squared unit bigger than it needs to be. Then we'll come back to the tool and trim it down to size. When you go to sew the triangles onto the square, you'll put 2 of them on the sides like this. It's okay for you to line up the triangles on top, but make sure that when you do your stitching, you actually stitch with the square on top and the triangles on the bottom. Because what you want to do is get as accurate a 1/4 of an inch seam as you can possibly get. Remember, that center square is precision cut. The triangles are bigger, but we want to get as close to a 1/4 of an inch seam on that unit as we can. Once the seams are sewn, take your unit to the iron, press the seams. Generally, I press the seams so that they're going out away from the center square. Once the pressing is done, we're going to take the 2 additional triangles that we have, position them on the unit. Again, flip it over. Sometimes it will require that you put a pin in there, but stitch with the square on top so that you can get those accurate 1/4 of an inch seams according to the square that you've precision cut for the center. Once it's stitched, go to the iron, give it a press, and again, the pressing goes away from the square that's in the center. What you'll see now is that you have a unit that looks like the type of unit that you want, but it's got a lot of extra fabric built in around the edges. This is where the other part of our squared tool comes into play, because I'm going to take this unit now. I position the 5s, the X's with the 5s, at the 4 corners of my center square. Take my rotary cutter, trim up one side, trim across the top. That cleans up one corner, puts a 1/4 of an inch seam on each of those 2 edges. Rotate my unit around, put the tool back down on the unit. Again, positioning the 5s with the X's with the 5 at the 4 corners, but I also want to make sure that I line up my 5.5 inch cleanup line that's on this edge here with the edge that I've already cleaned up, so that I know when I'm done with my cleanup, with my trim down, that I have a square that's exactly the right size to go in my project. It'll be the exact size that I want it to be, and every single one of those sides is going to have my 1/4 of an inch seam on each edge. I'm hoping that you're going to look for this tool, my Square Squared, at your local quilt shop, or you can visit my website and check out some of the other wonderful tools and techniques that I've developed to help you deal with sometimes difficult units and put those into your favorite quilts.